Hello, welcome to Crime Corner, where I sit in my corner and talk all true crime everything. And to anyone joining for the first time, I want to say hi and welcome. Thank you for being here and listening to another case with me. Today's case is going to be another heinous one that is currently at a standstill and that has sparked outrage not only in Mexico but abroad as well. And you're about to find out why today. So today we'll be discussing the case of a beautiful law student by the name of Debanhi Susana Escobar Bazaldua, who was tragically unalive 13 days after going missing on the night of April 9th, 2022. This case is going to upset you and leave you with more questions than answers that have been given up to this point by law enforcement so far. I definitely went down several rabbit holes with this case and it made me very angry, to say the least. So if you've been here before, you know that I will be using words that may not sound right, such as unaliving or SA, in place of certain phrases, because the video will get flagged by YouTube if I use MURDER, things like that. So the words will appear on the screen if you're watching the video, so that way you'll understand why I'm using those phrases, or if you don't know what they mean. But with all of that being said, let's talk about it. Debanhi Susana Escobar Bazaldua was born on September 4th, 2003, and I couldn't find any mention of who her biological parents were. However, Debanhi was adopted when she was a year and 4 months old by Mario Escobar and Dolores Bazaldua, who are teachers. Debanhi was described as very kind, obviously very beautiful, as you could see from these pictures. Her family said that she loved to dance and she seemed very outgoing. I found so many pictures of her with her family where you can just tell they adored her so much, and she just looked like she was really outgoing and loved being with them as well. She was also a law student at the Autonomous University of Nuevo León, and on the night of April 8th, 2022, Debanhi and a couple of friends by the names of Yvonne and Sarai, and I use the word friends loosely. You'll find out why, but they went to a party, or a couple of parties that night. One of them was a friend of Debanhi, and she had known her for about 4 months. The other one was just an acquaintance that she met through that friend, and they had, I guess, met up on a couple of occasions, but they didn't know her too well. They ended up going to about 3 different places that night, where then they ended up at a venue that's called Quintana de El Diamante. And in a television interview for a Mexican channel, Yvonne and Sarai said that they were at the venue with some guys that they had met at one of the parties before they got to the venue they were at. They stated that they also met 3 more young men that Debanhi had went up to greet when they arrived at the Quintana El Diamante. They stated that they stayed at Quintana El Diamante venue, and as the night went on, they were having a good time, but the women stated that at some point Debanhi's behavior became uncharacteristically erratic, and they stated that she got involved in an altercation and locked herself in the men's bathroom. The women went on to state that they stayed at Quintana El Diamante until approximately 3:50 a.m. They said that they were leaving and stated, quote, "Some people wanted to take Debanhi," unquote. They said in the interview that there were some people that wanted to take Debanhi home. I guess they kept offering and saying they wanted to take her, but the women didn't know who these people were and they didn't trust them. So they said that they were going to, figure out how to get her home. However, there was footage that had come out that shows Debanhi running outside of the venue, running to the outside, and she's like against like a fence, and it's being followed by, you know, a couple of guys, and they surround her. She's like in the middle of all like this group of guys. It appears to be like 6 men, and this is after the alleged altercation that occurred inside of the venue. But they didn't come out to say like what the altercation was about or who the altercation was with. Then at about 4 a.m., Ivan and Sarai called a taxi owned by a man by the name of David Cuellar, who works for a rideshare company, kind of like Uber, but there it's called Didi, allegedly. And I say allegedly because in a later article, the rideshare company came out and stated that they were not aware of who this person was, that he wasn't one of their drivers. So I'm not sure what all of that is about exactly. I'm thinking that because they didn't want this case tied to their drivers and business, but I'm still going to be looking into that further myself, and, you know, I'll give you any updates if I find out what that was about. So anyway, it was said that he had been driving the women around that night, and the women had his personal phone numbers. So, you know, they told him to take Debanhi home, and one of them gave him the address, you know, where to get her. And then Ivan and Sarai stated that they were going to go home in a separate vehicle because Debanhi wanted to go home alone. You know, they didn't give any more information apart from what the friend said, that, you know, about what happened and what else could have approached, anybody could have approached Debanhi that night. Like, they didn't mention what the argument was about, why she was upset with them, if there was anybody else that came up to Debanhi, anything. So David gets there, he picks her up, and a little while later, Debanhi and David were seen on a security cam footage that shows them in a car, and it looks like they're arguing. According to a subsequent explanation by David, he was trying to ascertain Debanhi's home address, you know, see if he could find that out from her, or even a family's phone number, so he could, you know, make sure he's getting her to the right place. But he stated that she was angry, she refused to provide either of those details, and allegedly groped him. That's what he said. Then at about 4:25 a.m., near a street called Via Numancia and Via Nuevo Laredo Highway in Nueva Castilla neighborhood, Debanhi got out of David's vehicle, and David then texted Ivan and Sarai to let them know the situation. He also sent a photo that's now viral of Debanhi shown standing alone on a desolate highway, which is referred to as the highway of DEATH. The highway of DEATH is a 136-mile highway connecting the cities of Nuevo Laredo and Monterrey in Mexico. It said that dozens of people have disappeared on that specific highway, leaving loved ones and Mexican authorities clueless as to where these people have gone and what happened to them last. Now, this would be the last photograph of Debanhi alive, and this is why David stated that he sent it because he wanted to show proof that she was still alive after his interaction with her, which lots of people, including her family, of course her father, were suspicious about. And David has done, you know, an interview that is in Spanish, which I'll include down in the description box below. You can do the option to translate it, so you can, you know, read what was going on or what was said in there. But, you know, he was saying, you know, his side of the story, what happened that night, and let me know what y'all think if y'all watch that. But David stated that after several minutes of waiting to see if Debanhi would come back, he decided to leave. So took the picture, waited, took off. Next, another security cam footage indicated it was about 4:30 a.m. They showed that she went to a transportation office and that it was closed. So she walked away from there. Another security camera catches her walking to Nueva Castilla Motel. After that, nobody saw her again. 13 days later, that's when they would find her body in a 12-foot deep tank near a pool in the Nueva Castilla Motel, which is on the outskirts of Monterrey in Nuevo León. The assistant public safety security officer by the name of Ricardo Mejia announced that a woman's body, apparently unrecognizable, after what may have been nearly 2 weeks in the water, was located and was only able to be identified by a crucifix necklace that she was wearing, and also the description of the clothes that had been put out in the news and articles were the only way that they were able to identify that it was Debanhi, unfortunately. Initially, authorities came out and stated that Debanhi fell into the water tank and took a blow to the head during the fall and then passed out and drowned in the tank. Mind you, it had already sounded suspicious because there was only about 3 feet of water in that particular tank. And yes, I understand if she was passed out, then of course I know you can drown, and you know, the only thing that gets me is that if you were to drown, how would there not be any water in your lungs? So yeah, that's what the autopsy ended up showing, was that she had no water in her lungs, and that would mean that she was unalived before being put in that abandoned, they call it a cistern, aka water tank. Another thing that raised a ton of questions was, super suspicious, was the fact that Debanhi was found in the same hotel that was being used as a sort of headquarters, I guess you could say, for the police, the law enforcement searchers that were helping to look for her. So she was literally just merely feet away from where they were all having meetings to discuss, what the plan was that day, the plan of action to try and locate her. And it consisted of, again, police, volunteers, everybody that was helping search for her. So it's scary to think she was just feet away from where they were trying to find her. They had just searched the motel grounds too, on 4 different occasions, it was said. They had no sign that Debanhi had been there, other than the camera footage, but like that her body was there. They searched with cadaver dogs, they said, but again, they didn't hit on anything at the time that they looked. Also, the only way that the public would even be able to access those water tanks would be by entering the hotel, as you wouldn't be able to know that they were there if you were just walking by. If you were walking on the outside, and I'll put a lot of pictures of the hotel outside, the fence is so big. So if it doesn't get any more obvious that there's some sort of cover up, in my opinion, the motel stated that their surveillance cameras were only working in certain areas of the motel. Of course, right? That's how it always works. It gave major red flags, in my opinion. Only certain areas. Wonder why. So that raised all kinds of suspicions for me, but that's the part that I had so many questions about, is going back to the water tanks, was that they weren't being used, they were abandoned. The old restaurant that was a part of that Nueva Castilla Hotel used to use them. So not just anyone would know they were there again, and common sense tells me that allegedly it had to be someone that either worked at the motel, or someone that knew somebody that worked there. Like maybe they would pick somebody up and they, were familiar with the grounds, because again, those tanks are not visible from the street. So only people that are on site would have any knowledge of them and the fact that they were abandoned, not being serviced or used anymore. So if the motel was used as a headquarters and, she was not found at that time, then that just says, for me, somebody internally knew what was going on and was keeping an eye on everything. So, they end up finding a few days later in the garden of the motel, some workers of the motel were complaining of a foul odor coming from the garden area. So that tells me that somebody, again, involved in the search, possibly, or somebody that worked at the motel. The police meetings being held there would have internal knowledge of all of that, everything going on, and would know when the coast would be clear to, I don't know, move a body there, hide a body. To me, that makes sense. And the fact that the motel is not coming forward to hand over any footage or claiming that they didn't have anything due to the cameras not working, allegedly, it's as if they are covering for someone, but the question is who and why. That's what we're all wanting to find out. The motel itself should have been investigated thoroughly, and every room should have been searched after they found her body, to me. Or just the fact that they had the footage, they could have started searching the rooms there to see if maybe she went in a room or anything, to see if she was being held in one. And they could have found out, who was staying in the rooms there, who was staying at the motel altogether during the weeks that she was missing, the night that she went missing. And did they do that? No, they didn't. They instead said that she fell, hit her head, and didn't even bother to further investigate the case. So following the new revelations of the new autopsy report, the government finally admitted that Debanhi didn't drown inside of the water tank, like if we didn't know that already. But anyway, it upset me, and it's such a shame that her family had to beg law enforcement to do their jobs and just to do the right thing. It shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't have been like that for them. And yes, I understand. I get that they are really busy. There's crime happening all the time there. And they have tons of cases that they need to solve. And, the thing is, when there is a case that has so many red flags and things that don't add up, maybe don't be so quick to just push the family off and procrastinate, try to move on it, actually investigate it. And for the sake of the victims' families, help them feel better and know that you're actually looking into it. They didn't get that. I mean, their lives have been altered forever in such a horrific way. So now you can see why this case has sparked such widespread protests, because the explanations for how this beautiful soul passed away make absolutely no sense at all. And we're not going to stop until there is justice for Debanhi and all of the other women that are going missing and being unalived there. Also, during the weeks that they were searching for Debanhi, 5 young ladies were found along the way. 4 of them were said to be under the age of 16 years old. Now, I found an article from 2022, and there have been some updates, and there has been more footage that has resurfaced that they were able to locate, should I say. So the last footage that what everyone knew about was that Debanhi had gotten to the motel and alone, nothing else. Now they stated that there is new footage of Debanhi seen running into the premises, but as images from the motel's cameras show, instead of going to the reception desk, she walked through the building and hid in the corner of an old garden area that was not being used. Then about 20 minutes later, Debanhi is seen walking by the empty pool and approaching the cistern. And that is the last footage of her as of 2022, that article in 2022. Then a deputy prosecutor by the name of Luis Enrique Orozco stated, quote, "In the last image we have, she is seen walking along the side of the fence next to where her remains were later found," unquote. He made this statement after the security camera footage came to light. Now, remember that the Nuevo Leon prosecutor's office initially put forward the theory that Debanhi had fallen into the cistern by accident and had passed away due to, she died because of the cranial contusion. The hypothesis was refuted by the results of an additional autopsy, and it's one that the family recognizes to be the official ones. They ordered a second one to be done, and this did require her body to be exhumed. That autopsy identifies the cause as asphyxia by suffocation due to obstruction of the respiratory orifices, and there were signs that she had been SA'd. The new evidence also refers to details of what Debanhi experienced during her final moments alive. Her body showed evidence of several blows to the forehead, both eyes, her nose, her lips, and the upper side of her ear, her right ear. According to the newest report, in addition, it established that Debanhi passed away anywhere between 3 and 5 days before her body was actually found. So, of course, that means that Debanhi was alive for between 8 and 10 days, all while the missing posters with her photographs were everywhere in Monterrey. Her image had gone viral throughout Mexico, and her disappearance had even reached the office of the president. So, who had Debanhi and where was she being held during that time? Well, we might be getting some answers to that pretty soon, because just last year in January of 2023, the Nuevo León Attorney General's office stated that the judge had ordered 2 former employees of Nueva Castilla Motel, 2 women who had been ordered to stand trial on the charges related to the case of Debanhi, specifically for making false statements to authorities. Their names are Ana Luisa and Elida Judith, and they are prohibited from leaving the state of Nuevo León before facing trial and must periodically check in. Like, they physically have to go sign in with authorities to make sure that they're still in the area. Ana Luisa was a manager at the motel, and Elida Judith worked at the front desk during the time that Debanhi went missing. They came under investigation 9 months after initially telling authorities that there was no video footage. Remember, they said there was no video footage showing that Debanhi had been to the motel property. Past what we saw her walking in there, nothing else. Nuevo León authorities subsequently searched the motel and the women's homes and seized cell phones, USB flash drives, and a laptop where videos were found. The news website called Infobae reported that footage could help shed light on Debanhi's apparent femicide. After a Nuevo León judge ruled that the 2 former motel employees must stand trial, Debanhi's father told reporters that he and his wife were happy with the decision, but expressed disappointment that the wheels of justice hadn't turned more quickly. And he stated, quote, "What is being done should have been done 8 months ago, but in some ways it's a breakthrough," unquote. The former motel employees will be the first suspects to face trial in connection with the disappearance and unaliving of Debanhi. Mr. Escobar also said that he was confident that law enforcement will gather more evidence related to Debanhi's case, and that they will identify the perpetrator or perpetrators of the alleged femicide and hold them accountable, and stated, quote, "If there are more people who know something, we urge them to go to the Attorney General's office," unquote. And lastly, Mario stated, he said, quote, "The legacy Debanhi leaves us is not to stop in the face of all of the injustices. We're going to continue fighting so that this doesn't happen again," unquote. The definition of the term true friendship is identified as an emotional bond marked by mutual respect, understanding, and shared sense of camaraderie. It goes beyond shared interests or spending time together and encompasses a deep and intuitive connection. Real friends accept you for who you are without judgment or pretense. They offer support, improve your quality of life, and provide honesty and unconditional love. This is a definition I found of friendship. However, in Debanhi's case, her friends, the friendship that they had clearly They didn't know what the meaning of it was, what a true friendship was. If they had, then Debanhi might still be here. And that's not to say that it was all of their fault. You know, in no way, shape, or form am I putting all of the blame solely on them and what they should have, shouldn't have done. You know, what I am saying is that good friends stick together no matter what. And I just felt that they could have been better friends to Debanhi that night, regardless of how long they knew her. Just the morality of it, being a good person, even if it meant calling the night, you know, calling it a night, calling it early and going home together. Or hell, they could have followed her to her house, even if she didn't want to, if she was upset with them, they could have made sure that she got home. So they could have, you know, taken off in a separate taxi, you know, and followed her to make sure she got home, and then they could have taken off somewhere else. You know, yes, I understand Debanhi's old enough. People are going to say she was old enough. She made her own decisions. She could have taken herself. But as a group going out, they should have all stuck together, especially them knowing what's been going on in, you know, Nuevo Leon, with all of the women being unalived and going missing. So yes, she was old enough to make her own decisions, but she trusted her friends. And it's so unfortunate that these were not those types of friends to have her best interest in mind. And it just seems as though, in my opinion, that they didn't care enough. But I digress, and I just hope that everyone learns from this situation, and I pray that justice comes for Debanhi. And it sounds like it is, and I really hope it does. Her family deserves it way more than what they've been given to this point. And it's so sad that they have to beg law enforcement to do more, and their cries just go unheard. These two women have done an interview, the two friends of the night of events, and I'll leave that in the description box down below. And if there are any other updates, which I'm hoping they do come soon, you know, we'll go live. We can talk about it. In the meantime, please send prayers to the Escobar family, and let's share Debanhi's story to keep it out there, and hope that there's, you know, the court hearing comes soon, that they move on this case pretty quickly now that they have obtained, you know, new information. And as always, I want to know what y'all think happened to Debanhi. Where was she being held? What are your theories on that? I have a few, and I found a few different articles in Spanish, and those are some rabbit holes that I would like to do a live with. So I'm hoping that I can do a live pretty soon, and we can do that. I did run into some very crazy theories, you know, but like I said, all of that you have to take with a grain of salt. So we're gonna leave it at that, and we're gonna go ahead and end this video for today. I do appreciate all of you for being here and taking the time to come listen to another case. I know it's been a minute. I was in the process of moving, and it's been crazy since then. So I'm back to starting back up, looking into other cases, writing everything out. So I'll be back with more consistent content and going live pretty regular on some newer cases, or cases that are going on with court and everything. So thank you so much again for being here. I truly appreciate it. If you could please like and subscribe if you haven't already, to come back and hear more cases. I really appreciate it, to help get this case out there. Thank you so much, and have a good one. Until the next one, please be safe out there.